In jail, Heba Muraisi has now been on hunger strike for 70 days, one of 3 Palestine Action activists who've been refusing food for weeks. Among the demands that the organisation is deprescribed, doctors warn they risk death if they continue. They were arrested before support for the group was banned under the Terrorism Act and deny all charges relating to alleged break-ins or criminal damage. Since then, more than 2,000 people have been arrested at protests, including the activist Greta Thunberg. The cause has support, but also criticism. The government, for its part, won't negotiate, saying because the justice system is independent, it would be unconstitutional and inappropriate to intervene.
There are very well-established, long-standing procedures in place for dealing with hunger strikers. The criminal justice system is rightly independent from political interference, and we need to treat all prisoners equally and fairly. And if the government were to start meeting with individuals about specific cases, then it could have perverse consequences, with more people thinking that that is a way to draw attention.
Back in the 80s, there were protests during the Troubles in Northern Ireland. Bobby Sands, one of 10 hunger strikers who died, over claims that they should be treated as political prisoners.
There can be no question of political status for someone who is serving a sentence for crime. Crime is crime is crime.
The deaths became a watershed moment and helped carve out the path for Sinn Féin, now the largest party in the Northern Ireland Assembly.
I was on hunger strike for 55 days. When the hunger strike ended, I was the longest on, and in theory, therefore, I would have been the next person to die. But at that stage, I weighed around 7.5 stone. I'm absolutely proud of the fact that I was involved in that epic event in our history.
The prisons minister says there are on average 200 cases of hunger strikes or food refusals a year, and throughout history some have been more successful than others.
Of course, it depends on the political context. We know that there are significant hunger strikes in British political history, the suffragette movements, of course. Hunger strikes formed part of a wider political strategy. And there have been many, many more hunger strikes over the course of history.
The government insists those being held are charged with serious offences. But this is a cause these hunger strikers say they are prepared to die for, whether they have the sympathy of others or not.
Well, earlier I spoke to Heba Muraisi's friend and fellow activist, Francesca Naden. She spent 9 months in custody herself before being sentenced to a community order for criminal damage caused during a protest at a defence company. I began by asking her about the last time she saw Heba.
So I saw Heba yesterday. She is extremely skinny. I felt like when I was hugging her, I could break her like paper thin. But I think mentally she's still really strong, really determined. And as she said to me herself, as long as she's mentally strong, that gives her the physical strength to continue.
Is she getting any form of nutrients at all? It's such a long time to be without absolutely anything.
From what I understand from the doctors, she's taking vitamins, and of course, it's essential to take salt with water during a hunger strike.
Just how worried are you about her at the moment? What was your conversation? What did you say when you saw her?
Well, of course, we're all extremely worried because we know that this is a critical stage right now. But as her friend, I would not stress those concerns all the time to her, because that just becomes an extra stress on her. I respect her decision, and it's her decision alone, and I have to support her in any way I can with that. I think it's clear to everybody that a hunger strike is nothing that anybody would ever want to do. It's an extremely difficult decision, but it has been taken because she feels like she has no other choice.
Francesca, you were in prison yourself. You're currently on a community order and you've got an 18-month situation going on. Did you ever think about going on hunger strike? What is the difference now to what you went through and what Heba's going through?
when I found out about this, that all these people were getting arrested under anti-terror legislation. That never happened to me. So something changed within a very short space of time. So the idea that the prisoners that are currently in prison or on hunger strike want to be treated differently or better than other prisoners just isn't true, because from the get-go, they were treated worse than everybody else because of this terror label.
Right, the government disputes that. David Lammy will be across this, but essentially the justice system has to have that separation of powers. Why should Heba or anyone else be any different?
So, of course, yes, there is the separation of powers, right? And there are various different demands. Only one of them would relate to the court, and that is the bail applications. But it's also true that the prison governors can make recommendations to the Secretary of State on this matter. But despite that, all we've said, and this is through our multiple letters from our lawyers to the government, is all we're asking for is to open that conversation, that dialogue, to have a meeting with the government to discuss these things in detail.
I just wanted to end on, you'll be aware of how serious Heba's condition is. Ultimately, how worried are you that you could, in a matter of days, maybe weeks, lose your friend?
I'm extremely worried, as is her family and everyone else around her. We wake up every day with that dread of knowing that any moment we could find out that there's something happened to her, whether it's being sent to hospital or something worse.
Francesca Naden, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you.